Okay, we have Joe already. Hey Joe,
Hello.
welcome.
Hi,
Hey,
yeah.
thanks for staying up so late.
Yeah, happy to. It's very
That's
strange
really
watching
great.
myself give that talk.
Yeah, that's always a bit weird, right? To watch
A little
yourself.
awkward.
Hey Michael, also thanks for joining from the US. And we have a couple of other people joining in. So we didn't have like hundreds of people, unfortunately, as I hoped for in this stream, but we have a couple of dozens of people. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, so congratulations, Joe, for the great keynote. I think that's
Thanks.
very exciting stuff. Start live stream to Zoom events. Some people we can also do that. Okay, great. And yeah, so this is so as people are joining, okay, maybe it's a bit early to mention, but basically this is a meeting, so this is not a webinar, so everybody can, if they want, you can unmute yourself and also switch on your camera maybe to say hi, and then ask questions or give some comments or thoughts on this topic that Joe shared. Do we have any questions already from anybody for Joe or any comments? And it's also great that the slides are already online. It's always nice with these quarter slide decks. So easy to make it available. Um, it's really good to go back. Maybe let me also drop again the link in the chat so that everybody can have a look again. So Joe, so this is really like a little ecosystem that the Posit team has already put together, right? So can
Yeah,
someone summarize maybe what are the components?
yeah. I think we came into this really not expecting to go down to go down this road. Not really expecting that we were going to build so much infrastructure for LLMs in R. And what happened was a couple of things. Number one, part of the inspiration was that at PositConf and then again at the Gen AI Day for R and Pharma, a number of Shiny for R users came up to us and told us that they were already building LLM-enabled apps in R and in Shiny, and because the tools were like didn't support streaming, didn't support tool calling. The kinds of apps that they were able to build, while exciting because they still use the magic of LLMs, they didn't have the kind of polish that we really would like shiny LLM-enabled chatbots to have. Like you wouldn't see the answer streaming in as the chatbot is composing it. Instead, you just wait and wait and wait, and then an answer would be blasted in. Or if people did do the streaming, they did it with really painstaking hand coding and JavaScript and things like that. And when we saw that, it was sort of like, whoa, okay, we
Mhm.
owe it to our users to make this a nice experience. And an interesting thing happened along the way. A few weeks ago, internally, I really felt like people inside of Posit really need to get to know these technologies, just like I'm encouraging you all here in this conference. I've also been encouraging people inside the company. So I started holding hackathons and encouraging people with no LLM experience to come and program against these LLMs, using, if they want, our new R packages. And that has turned up a lot of enthusiasm inside the company for using these tools. And it's helped us build a lot of confidence that like, oh, we are actually on the right track. And this is actually interesting for our users that don't even consider themselves like AI enthusiasts or even
Mhm.
like are pretty skeptical of AI, and still people are finding really interesting, fun ways to use these things and are glad that they exist. So that's why I can come to you, I think, with some confidence, even though these packages are so new, and say like, no, I really think that these are very good, and we've already had some really good feedback from our internal users about it.
Mm. That is really awesome. No, thanks a lot for this infrastructure. I think it looks very, very useful. And especially this tool calling. I mean, even though maybe it's not invented by you guys, but I think to have this so easily available in R, I think that's going to open up a lot of cool applications. because I also found sometimes when I just go with some too naive prompts and too high expectations maybe to this LLM chatbot, then I will be disappointed very easily. And I think giving these tools to them, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. I'd actually be interested if people here, want to comment on this, that I sort of, it kind of feels to me that a lot of the attention right now, when people talk about LLMs and maybe have corporate initiatives to explore, but haven't done that much hands-on work with them yet, I feel like a lot of the attention is on fine-tuning models and on RAG, which is sort of like adding bits of context from large bodies of data, almost like adding search results to queries before sending them to the model. That those two techniques, I feel like a lot of companies almost sort of assume that that's where they're going to find the most interesting use cases. And a lot of people that I've talked to that are quite excited about LLMs and those aspects of the technology have not even heard of tool calling. They're not even aware that this is a feature of modern LLMs. And to me, I feel like that's totally backwards, that there's so much exciting things that you can do with tool calling, and it's so much more general than just let me be a better search engine. So I'd be curious if people
Mm.
here have been having these conversations or have been privy to these conversations in their companies. Do you agree with me that like there's more talking about fine-tuning models, about deploying open source models, about augmenting models with RAG rather than tool calling?
Yeah, please, everybody have a maybe if you have any experience with this, please go on camera and microphone and you can comment.
Um, Hi, Joe. Here's Joe from Roche, and yeah, we lead the NEST team developing several open source packages for reporting, creating TLGs, and so it's a great talk. And so I haven't had much experience using like the core tooling, etc. But there was like a topic that we have a special interest on as like QCing and validating the results. And so I think this is something that I have particular interest in. So for example, if we use R tables or like N10 and then create these statistics. And so I would like to use LLM to do the next generation of like a QCing and say, hey, use some other tools, not using these tools, and to recompute these numbers and check and it's correct, right?
Mm.
And so yeah, do you think this is something that will interest bosses or just you? And,
Yeah, so for that particular use case, I mean, it highly depends on exactly the kinds of computations and the context. But I will say that it sounds a lot to me like ordinary unit testing in software engineering, where you come up with the answer one way and then you make an assertion, based on an answer that you came up another way, but that they're supposed to be the same. And I will say that I wonder whether that's a case where you want to use the LLM at runtime when you're actually doing the validation, or whether you use the LLM to write validation code, if that makes sense. It's like almost to like use the LLM to just build a second implementation, because that's one of the things that these things are incredibly good at, is taking like these pretty rote, annoying coding tasks. Oh, actually, someone said this. Who said this to me yesterday, I think, that they had now gotten into the habit of when they have a difficult problem to solve, they will solve it first in Python and then use an LLM to translate it to Go, even though that they are an expert in both Python and Go. Because this kind of rote transformation, LLMs are very good at. So I think if you started with your kind of your main code and then loaded that into an LLM and said, hey, please help me write a second implementation so that I can verify the, result. And it could even be in a different language. That'd be very, very good at that. Whereas if you do it that way, then you only have to QC the code once or twice. And you don't have to worry about the runtime risk that it's going to hallucinate and miss an issue just when you need it to be correct the most. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. That's definitely something I would like to try next. Yeah, this is
Cool.
this is like because we've been thinking differently, but yeah, this is really good. Thank you.
And then I saw someone, I think Michael had unmuted for a second. Did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I very endeared to the comment about, the emphasis on RAGs and trying to kind of optimize the response versus building out tool calling in general. I think that's a very pointed question, that our pointed comment, and having tools like Elmer or having hits like Elmer that you can give to a lot of already, EDA geared developers might shift that conversation a little bit so that it's not so much kind of the focus is, the model results, but more talking about how you can incorporate tooling and incorporate known truth into like the LLM dialogue.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I see in the chat, Edison, does that, I'm curious what you mean by that first question. Can we build workflow through Elmer? Is that kind of the kind of thing Michael was saying? Is that similar, or what did you mean by that?
Yeah, thank you, Joe, for your awesome presentation.
Oh,
Yeah, I
thanks.
think it's maybe similar to LangChain. So you can have, so you have a complex task, right? You can build like step 1, step 2, step 3. So to simplify each task and then complete the complex tasks. So
Yes.
that is my first questions.
Yeah.
And the second question is, I want to do like fully automatic. So I don't want to chat with the chatbot every time. I want to have agents to decide which tool I use and what is the next steps. And so this is the two
Yes.
things I want to ask. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So this is a really good question. And I think this seems, I'm guessing that Edison, you seem like you have some experience in this area. This is not the first time you're hearing about LLMs and tool calling and things like that, correct?
Yeah, I love I love LangChain and
Okay.
Python, so I
Great.
use that a lot. But
Awesome.
I also working in Pharma, so I love Shiny and those stuffs. So
Okay.
yeah,
Great.
I'm very looking forward to this package. So
Okay.
yeah.
So you if you love LangChain, you may not love my answer. And I want to first say, in humility, I know Python plenty. I really have tried to get along with LangChain, and I have only had mixed results. So LangChain has gone okay for me, but not great. And LangChain is it's quite a controversial package, actually. It's quite a polarizing package in the Python world. It is unbelievably popular, probably has maybe the fastest adoption growth of any package I can remember in history. But it makes a lot of things into one-liners without necessarily making it easy to form a mental model about how you debug, customize, enhance. So LangChain, like many Python LLM packages, is designed to be very composable. So you can create these custom workflows, agents, all these custom things by taking smaller pieces and just kind of like sticking them together.
Right.
And when Hadley and I were talking through the design of Elmer, we were very consciously avoiding that.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
our theory was that that if you are so interested in AI that you're willing to become like basically as much of an expert as probably a lot of people in the R world are about dplyr, that's kind of the level of commitment you need to have with LangChain in order to do some of these more sophisticated things. And at the end of the day, a lot of the things like these workflows that you're building through these composable pieces, you could also just write code. Like you could also just write regular R code, regular Python code around smaller pieces that do the hard work. So it's like you're using this sort of compositional LangChain API to do not only the hard things, but also the easy things. And what we found is that it just made the easy things too difficult. So our thesis right now, number one, is that most people who are going to be interacting with LLMs from R are not going to be as interested in doing these complicated workflow things, and instead they're going to be interested in tool calling, streaming, async, and I forget what the other one was. So certainly system prompting. But that being said, we're all ears if people say, hey, I really want this to be more like LangChain, and I want to do these complicated things, and I really need some kind of expression language like LangChain gives you, and I don't care that it's complicated. It's totally worth it to me. We are very interested to hear that kind of input. So.
Got you. Yeah, thank you.
Great.
What's maybe the always a good question. What's next? What's next? Any current work that's ongoing? Any new things that the team is working on?
Sure. Boy, let's see. So right now, for Elmer and Shiny Chat, we are working to get those things on CRAN very soon. So Hadley's been doing some last tweaks to the API of Elmer. And I think we are, I mean, as much as I just sort of, I guess, negged on RAG a little bit, it still is certainly a very important technique. And I think while you can do RAG with Elmer, we don't really set you up to do it that easily. So I think that's one of the things that you can expect to see. At the very least, more documentation about how to do it, if not built-in features that kind of make it a little bit smoother. And then longer term, we are not even longer term, middle term. Our chat components for Shiny in both Python and R, I think they're very nice, but they're also very bare bones. Like we don't have the ability to upload images right now. And that is a great capability that Elmer and all these LLMs support, or not all of them, but many of them support. So having image support in both directions is pretty important as well. And I think we're really doing a lot of I think like talking to customers and doing experiments inside so that in addition to building these tools, we want to know what these tools are good for also. So a lot of our time is going to that as well.
Great. Thanks for sharing, Joe. Very good. So with that, let's thank Joe again for staying up so long and his great keynote and great live Q&A. So really appreciate it a lot. Didn't expect that. And so thanks a lot, Joe. And with that, we have a 10 minutes break, and we're then continuing with Cheng-Chin Wang's presentation afterwards. Okay. Thanks, everyone.